Dear viewers, if you thought Part 1 was intense, Part 2 will take you even deeper. Cynthia's journey through betrayal, hidden truths, and a love she never expected is far from over. The night she thought would bring answers may be the night that destroys her. If you haven't seen Part 1, click the card above or check the comments section for the link. Tonight, the lines between duty and emotion blur. Cynthia isn't just a police officer anymore. She's a woman fighting for answers, torn between justice and the man she can't forget. Comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single moment. Let's begin. Cynthia sat frozen on her couch, the note still in her hand. The paper shook slightly between her fingers, not because she was afraid, but because of the weight of what it meant. The words were simple, but they cut deep. Come to Millstone City alone. Call this number when you arrive. She stared at it for a long time. Her mind tried to find another way, another option, but there was nothing. Maxwell's face kept flashing in her thoughts. The way he stood quietly in the prison yard, the way his voice softened when he spoke to her in the clinic, the gratitude in his eyes the day he walked out of Redwood State Penitentiary. She couldn't lose him. She wouldn't. Cynthia leaned back, staring at the ceiling. She had spent months hiding her feelings, telling herself it was just duty, that what she felt for Maxwell was nothing more than wanting justice for an innocent man. But this moment stripped away all those lies. She loved him, and now his life was in her hands. She picked up her phone from the table and stared at the number. Her thumb hovered over the call button. When she finally pressed it, the line clicked after 2 rings. A cold, deep voice spoke. We told you not to call until you're in Millstone City. If you involve the police, you will never see Maxwell again. Before she could reply, the call ended. Cynthia's chest felt tight, but she forced herself to stay calm. If they wanted her to come alone, then that's what she would do. She would not risk Maxwell's life. The next morning, she put on her uniform and drove to Redwood State Penitentiary. As she walked past the heavy gates, the air felt heavier than usual. She didn't stop to talk to anyone. She went straight to the warden's office. Mr. Thomas looked up as she entered. He was a man in his 50s, always composed, with eyes that saw more than he said. Cynthia, he greeted, adjusting his glasses. You're here early. What's going on? I need a month's leave, she said plainly. His brows rose. That's not a small request. Why? It's personal, she replied, her voice low but steady. Someone I care about is in danger, and I have to handle it myself. I can't involve the department, not yet. Mr. Thomas studied her for a long moment. He could see there was more to the story, but he didn't press. Finally, he nodded. You've been one of my best officers, Cynthia. I trust you. Take the time you need, but be careful. This doesn't look like just a vacation. Relief spread through her, but she kept her expression neutral. Thank you, sir. With her leave approved, she walked out of Redwood State Penitentiary with a plan forming. She couldn't do this alone. She needed someone with connections, someone who could reach places she couldn't. Unfortunately, that meant facing the last man she wanted to see, Mr. Johnson. The next day, she drove to her old station in Florida. The building stirred old memories, good ones and bad. Some of her old colleagues greeted her warmly, surprised to see her. A few of the men still looked at her with the same admiration they always had, but she didn't stop to chat. She headed straight for Johnson's office. She knocked once and entered. Mr. Johnson sat at his desk, silver hair neatly combed, his expensive watch glinting under the office light. He looked up and smiled in that smug way she remembered. Cynthia, he said slowly. Well, this is a surprise. I heard about your little heroics at Redwood. Very impressive. I'm not here to talk about the past, she said, keeping her tone controlled. I need your help.
His smile widened as he leaned back in his chair. "My help? That's interesting. You said no to me months ago, and now you walk in here asking for favors." Cynthia's jaw tightened. "Maxwell has been kidnapped. I need information. I need someone who can get to people I can't." Mr. Johnson studied her with a mix of amusement and arrogance. "I might be able to help you, but you know, help isn't free." Her stomach sank. "What do you want?" He picked up a pen, scribbled something on a slip of paper, and slid it across the desk. "Hotel room 306, tomorrow. Come alone." She stared at the note. She didn't need him to explain. She knew exactly what this meant. She took the paper, turned without a word, and walked out. That night, she sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the slip of paper. Every part of her wanted to rip it into pieces, to throw it in his face. But then she thought of Maxwell, his quiet strength, his soft voice, and whispered to herself, "For you, Maxwell, I'll go." The next day, she walked into the hotel. The hall smelled of polished wood and strong perfume. Each step toward room 306 felt heavier. She knocked lightly. The door opened almost at once. Mr. Johnson stood there, looking smug. "Cynthia, I knew you'd come." "I'm here to talk," she said firmly, stepping inside. He closed the door behind her. "Talk? I thought you came here to reconnect." "Tell me how you can help me," she cut in sharply. He chuckled softly, strolling to the table. "Fine, I'll tell you. I used to work for Horizon Foods, Inc., the same company that framed your Maxwell. I helped them cover up their little messes. And yes, they're behind his kidnapping." Cynthia's breath caught. "You're admitting this?" "I have nothing to lose by admitting it, but I can help you for a price." Her voice stayed calm, but her eyes were cold. "And what price is that?" "You know what I want," he said, stepping closer. What Mr. Johnson didn't know was that Cynthia had a voice recorder hidden in her jacket, capturing every word. She stepped back slightly. "You're not giving me anything, Johnson, but I will take this recording to the right people if I have to." His smile faded. His eyes hardened. "You'll regret this, Cynthia. Now get out." She turned and left, her pulse steady, but inside she was on fire. She had his confession, but she knew this was only the beginning. Cynthia left the hotel with her face calm and her steps steady. She crossed the lobby without looking back. In the car, she sat still, took the recorder from her jacket, and saw the red dot glowing. Mr. Johnson's admission was on it. She had proof, yet it did not feel like a win. It felt like a warning. She drove home and put the recorder on the table. Would Mr. Johnson strike back? Who held Maxwell? How far did Horizon Foods, Inc. reach? No answers came, only the ache of not knowing if Maxwell was safe. Sleep would not come. She lay on her back and watched the ceiling. Maxwell's quiet look in the clinic returned to her. So did the way he had thanked her outside Redwood State Penitentiary. Late morning brought gray light. Cynthia poured coffee. Her phone buzzed. The text read, "Come and pick up Maxwell now or never. Do not waste time." If it was a trap, she would face it. If it was a door, she would walk through. She grabbed her keys, slipped the recorder and a spare battery into her bag, and left. The drive to Millstone City felt longer than it should. Every few miles, a memory rose and faded. She kept her speed even and her mind clear. Fear would not drive the car. Near sunset, she reached the city line. Another text came. "Call this number." She pulled over and dialed. The same deep voice said, "Check your messages," and ended the call. An address followed. She set it into the GPS and drove. The address led to the edge of town where streets went quiet, and unfinished buildings stood alone, bare concrete and open holes for windows. No sign, no guards, just wind and distant traffic. Cynthia scanned the area, then went to the metal door. It opened at a push. Inside, the air smelled like dust. Lines of light crossed the floor. Maxwell lay on the concrete. For a breath, her mind refused the sight. Then she moved. She dropped to her knees and touched his shoulder. "Maxwell," she said, steady but urgent. "Can you hear me?" He did not move. She reached for her phone, and a small red blink on the wall caught her eye. Then she saw another near the ceiling, and another. Cameras, not even hidden well. One aimed straight at her hands. Her phone buzzed again. A news alert filled the screen. "Breaking. Former officer suspected in the death of Maxwell Carter." She looked up and saw a dusty television on a shelf. The screen showed a live shot of her kneeling by Maxwell. Her name ran across the bottom. The timestamp matched the second in the room. Whoever planned this wanted the city to watch. She stared at the screen, then at him. His face was too still. She leaned close. "I don't know if you can hear me," she whispered, "but I will not stop, I promise." Sirens rose somewhere outside and came nearer. She stood and lifted her hands so the lenses could see them. She stepped back and faced the door. Boots hammered at the steps. The door burst open. Light cut across the room. "Hands where we can see them," an officer shouted. Cynthia raised her hands higher. Two officers cuffed her and pulled her to her feet. The metal bit her wrists. They led her outside. The lot was no longer empty. Patrol cars and news vans crowded the space. Cameras turned. Voices threw questions she did not answer. They put her in the back of a car and shut the door. Millstone City slid past the window. Cynthia kept her thoughts in short lines. Breathe. Protect the recorder. Say nothing without a lawyer. Get the file to someone she could trust, Mr. Thomas. Do not let the people who staged this write the story. At the station, they booked her and walked her to a holding cell. The room was small and cold. A bench ran along one wall. The door closed with a hollow sound. She sat and let the quiet settle. For a while, she touched her pocket. The recorder was still there. The battery was still full. Mr. Johnson's voice lived inside it now, and that was a kind of light. Horizon Foods, Inc. might have reach, but they did not own everything. She still had the truth. She still had her record at Redwood State Penitentiary. She still had people who believed in her work. Fear came and went. Would a jury believe a setup? Would a judge? Would the crowd see a clip and decide she was what the feed said she was? She set her back straight and thought like the officer she was. If Maxwell was alive, she had to find him. If he was gone, she had to prove it was not by her hand, and then finish what they started. Mr. Johnson was part of it. Others were too. She traced the steps, the note, the call, the address, the cameras, the alert time to the second. None of it was random. She drew a breath and closed her eyes. She pictured Maxwell walking into daylight, the gate at his back. "Hold on," she whispered. "If you can hear me, hold on. If you cannot, I will carry you." Footsteps came and went outside the cell. Night gathered. Cynthia opened her eyes and fixed them on the scene where the wall met the door. She would not break. She would use the tape. She would use the facts. She would speak when the time was right. She was not finished with Mr. Johnson. She was not finished with the ones behind him. Hours stretched. She stood, then sat, then stood again. She pressed her palms together and let her breath slow. She thought of simple advice from years back. Do the next right thing. The next right thing was clear. Stay steady. Call counsel. Make sure Mr. Thomas got the file. Keep her story clean. People would see the clip and rush to judge. She could not control that. She could only control what she put in evidence. At last the hall fell still. Cynthia stared at the door and felt a line of steel grow inside her. She had been pushed aside once by a man who wanted power. She was still here. She would be here tomorrow. She would walk back into the light with the truth in her hand. What came next would shock everyone. And when the door opened, she would be ready. Ready.
Dear viewers, Part 3, the final part, is almost here. Cynthia thought her fight was over the moment she was taken away in handcuffs. But what's coming next will shake everything. The truth waiting for her is darker than she imagined, and the betrayal will cut deeper than anything she's faced before. If you want to see how it all ends, comment Part 3 in the comments so we know you're ready. Also, tell us where you're watching from. We love seeing our viewers from all over the world. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because the moment Part 3 drops, you'll want to be the first to see it.